All right, Rob, Sweet the Rack, another interview edition. We're back for the people. This time around, we wanted to bring on somebody that we felt we could ask some general questions of and get a general opinion of how the bowlers out on tour are looking at some of the issues going into this season, or even some of the storylines going into the season. So we felt one of the better people to reach out to would be one half of the Beef and Barnzy podcast, and we decided to reach out to the beefier half of that podcast. So, Rob, let's bring him on. We got Stu Williams coming on. It's not his first time here. He's been here before. I've been on his show. It's been a back and forth thing. We always love to promote Beef and Barnzy and what they're doing.
Yeah,
Stu,
see, I
welcome.
haven't been on the show yet. I haven't been on their show yet. They don't want to bring me on because you know why? They're scared of me. They don't want to bring. They're scared of me. They don't want me to be on. They're afraid of the shit I'm gonna say. Honestly,
they know how busy you are.
So in the intro, I honestly thought you were going to say, yeah, we've got one half of the Beef and Barnzy show. We reached out to Chris, but he was unavailable and couldn't make any connection.
So they should have said.
No, I would never do that. I would never do that. All right, Stu, welcome, man. How is everything generally?
Yeah, pretty good. I'm trying to make your prediction of last season accurate for this season. So I've made.
Wait, let's talk out what prediction here. We gotta.
Yeah, he had the prediction of comeback player of the year, and I finished in exactly the same position as I was the year before. So that was awesome. I came back in that I entered the tournaments. I think that was my comeback. I still bowled. But I made some grip changes. It seems to have helped a little. So the proof is in the pudding when you get out on the real tour. But I've been doing okay in some of the local stuff, and it seems like I've got a bit of a different ball roll. So hopefully that's conducive to not splitting as much, and seeing me on TV like I'm in that. Behind you there, Rob.
Yeah. So let me ask you real quick though, Mike. I know you're gonna jump in here. Like,
what
was the
question?
Yeah, what was the issue? I mean, like, what would you have if you were to put last year in the perspective on why you didn't, move up in the standings from the year previous? Like, what do you think the major issue was for you?
The 2-pin. I left the 2-pin a ton. When you've got your ball going too far down the lane on all of the patterns, and you leave the 2-pin combination almost as much as you leave, like I don't know, a 10-pin, then that's a serious problem. You've got to adapt your ball roll, and it seemed like whenever I tried to get the ball to pick up earlier, it would pick up way earlier, and whenever I didn't do that, it was really behind the head pin all the time. So I think that was a lot of my issues, and so I tried to address that in the off season.
So what was the specific grip change, and what was the change in your role that you saw?
So I had 3/8 forward, and I had a 4-inch cut to cut, and now I've got a 4 3/16 cut to cut, and I've got an 1/8 forward on my thumb. I'd added some reverse in the middle of the season because Dom had shouted at me because my fingers were completely messed up because I'm old and I've got arthritis. So he shouted at me, and I added more reverse, and that definitely helped when I went out to Reno. I bowled quite well at the Masters. But as that evolved, it became obvious to me that I needed less forward on my thumb so I could get the ball off my hand a little quicker. And that got the ball into the lane a little earlier, so it was picking up a little faster. And it seems to be doing quite well at the minute. I think my rev rate is a little higher, but the roll is more of important. It gets more into a roll. It doesn't if you imagine when it's on the lane, it doesn't like before it would skid, then pick up. Now it's more like it's picking up immediately. That's one thing that Bill does really well. Like as soon as it gets off his hand, it really starts to pick up as soon as it hits the lane. EJ Tackett's an obvious answer as well, but I mean his rev rate's so high it's hard to compare.
So question, did you make any layout changes too, like when you're drilling bowling balls? I mean, were you cutting down using more asymmetrical stuff to try to get the ball started earlier?
Last season I tried a lot of different things, but I think the point was it was just the roll was in just a bad spot, and it didn't really make that much difference. I feel like a lot of the time, a layout isn't going to take you from 180 to 230. It's going to take you from 225 to 240, if that kind of makes sense. Like, if you're not really close, a layout isn't really usually your problem.
You see, that's a good lesson for people out there, right?
You're right.
Because
that's a great
people,
point.
People will go to these bowling tournaments and they'll try to throw 10 bowling balls, and none of their 10 bowling balls will work. And then they leave there going, what the hell just happened? Why couldn't I find a way? But in reality, it was actually your ball roll matched with your speed. It didn't matter what you threw. If you didn't try changing hand positions, ultimately you were set up for failure. No.
Yeah, I mean, for me, if you kind of go through 3 or 4 ball changes and you're seeing kind of the same thing, and you're not using like I don't know, like 3 balls that are really similar. If you're like going from, to use Storm, if you're going from like a Reality to a Zen Master to a High Road Pearl, and they're all kind of doing the same thing, then the problem is probably you. It's unlikely that those 3 balls would have a very similar reaction. Like, you'd want to see something pretty drastically different between especially the Reality and the High Road Pearl. So a lot of the time, if you're making changes and nothing's really changing in your reaction, it's probably something you need to do physically, whether that's the slow speed or change your kind of roll or whatever.
Look at this. Okay. Getting tips right out of the gate from Stu on how to improve your game.
Good
Just
stuff.
starting off.
Good
stuff.
It
is good stuff for sure.
All right. So, Stu, we wanted to ask you a few questions just to kind of get the pulse of the players out there generally, right? You not only do you bowl out there and you're friends with a lot of guys out there, I'm sure, and you guys talk. It's what you do for a living. You also do the podcast, obviously, as people know. So you talk to a lot of players there too, I'm sure. And as I watch and tune in a lot of times. So first question we're going to throw out there, and this is just because it's recent news. We're doing this interview a couple days after it was announced. What's the general reaction of the players from your perspective so far of the news that Coley is going to move on from the PBA Tour, and it seems like Bolero as well?
I mean, I've already really spoken to Chris about it. I don't think either of us really. I don't really have a strong opinion one way or the other, because it's hard to say how much the decisions were made by her and how much it was the constraints that she had from Bolero. So until another person does that job and it becomes way better or way worse, then it's hard to really define her impact, I guess.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Will you support me and Mike applying to become CEO of the PBA? Will you support us, Stu? No, why would we be the best CEOs? We've already had a list of stuff that we would improve.
I did think it was kind of fun though that some people were suggesting that we should go back to the good old days. We should get Johnny and Carmen Salvino to take over. And I'm like, I mean, with all due respect to the pair of them, I mean, they ain't Jerry West, are they? I mean, there are only so many 8-year-olds who are like, can run a franchise. I'm not necessarily sure that's the direction we want to go into. I don't know, Rob. Can you even afford to quit your job and take over as the PBA? I mean, you're a super high flyer, moving city every 5 minutes.
Yo, that's perfect. I'm already able to go on tour with you guys and be there for the tour stops.
All those moves come with big raises, I would imagine.
Exactly. I mean, you're not moving from like New York to Chicago to Las Vegas to Phoenix. Like the guys all over the place.
Look, when it comes to salary, like me and the PBA, we'll negotiate. We'll negotiate. They'll start at a low number. I'll start with a high number. We'll be in the middle, and then I'll be the CEO. And then look, like
I'll be cheap.
I think the only person who's rooting for this is Bill O'Neill.
Yo, you would be rooting for it too if you knew my ideas.
I was about to say, as Bill knows both of you really well, he's probably like, oh, absolutely not.
Dude, if you knew what our ideas and all the money and revenue I would generate from the PBA, you would want me and Mike to be the CEOs of the PBA.
Ideas I think are good, but I don't execution's another ball of wax. But, okay, fair enough. Back to bowling. Back to non-hypothetical pipe dream stuff. There's been a lot of talk about urethane over the last couple of years, right? Particularly about the Purple Hammer. here's my question to you, and again, general question to get our finger on the pulse of the attitudes out there. At the end of this season, will the debate about urethane and particularly the purple hammer still be going on?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, is there still a debate about the left side and the right side?
Oh, so you think it's going to become that ingrained to where
It's already
it's
worse.
no, not until a few years
Oh,
back.
on the PBA tour it is.
But urethane didn't even explode on the PBA tour until maybe a few years
I'm just
before
telling
that.
you asked me for the finger on the pulse.
Okay.
There's more people using the purple hammer than there are playing on the left side of the lane. Like a tournament like Jonesboro couldn't happen with just left-handers. So
Well,
from a player's perspective, it's the most divisive issue right now.
okay. So one more point from me, and then
the guys and whatever.
you gave me a good transition to my next question for you. But one point there, part of me asking that question, honestly, had a little bit to do with the release of the UC3, and
Okay.
I'm seeing a lot of hype around this ball, and I've seen a few of them go down the lane, and I've been impressed by what I've seen so far in person. And part of me asking that question was to possibly suggest that if another company, and I know there's not many out there, so if another company develops something that rivals the Purple Hammer, is that likely to bring the debate away? But that was part of my thinking there. Any response to that, or?
I mean, I don't know because that's such a hypothetical question.
Okay.
Like, I mean, and it's not just the purple hammer. It's how prevalent urethane is within the game. And that's not to say it's right or wrong, but it's a thing that creates heated debate, shall we say?
Well, I'm glad I didn't ask that question by saying, "Are you Storm guys going to stop crying about the Purple Hammer by the end of this season?" I'm glad I didn't phrase it that way based on your response.
Well, I got a question, Stu. In your perspective, do you think like the new what's that regenerate or rebirth of urethane? Is that like from a player's perspective, would you rather see it go back to everybody using high performance all the time? And is that,
I mean,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. And the thing for me is like, it's something that's very easy to get wrapped up in. But for me, I mean, I'm getting beat by like guys who aren't even using urethane. So, I mean, I've got way more things that I need to worry about than that. And I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if they're going to come up with a new solution or not. Whether there is an answer or not. I mean, I don't know. All I know is that not just the purple hammer or the pitch black or whatever. When the lanes are difficult, everybody in the field, or a vast majority of the people in the field, transition to urethane, and that changes the pattern more quickly. And you could argue whether that's good or bad. I mean, I think the guys who think the lanes should play the same for 8 games are idiots as well. Like, I think that's an idiotic thing to want the lanes not to change, because then you might as well just practice, because whoever's got the best look in practice is probably going to win if the lanes don't change. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of energy being wasted on it, and I'm going to try this season to not waste the energy on it. I'm going to go back to hating Jesper and Jacob because it's more fun.
All right, fair enough. You brought up the left and the right in part of your answer there. I wanted to ask about this. Squad equity is going to be a part of the of the tour this year. So are asymmetrical lane patterns. We heard this in an interview with Jeff Rickles that he did with Tom Clark. So reaction to those two in terms of the left-right issue or the squad equity. Are players happy about those things generally?
Nobody really likes the multi-squad events because it never works out.
Okay.
That there isn't really an answer to it unless we can bowl in really big bowling centers, and really big bowling centers are usually really successful, so they don't necessarily want to take on a PBA event. And the PBA's bread and butter has been in smaller cities, and smaller cities tend not to have need 50 lane bowling centers. So I mean, who knows? Hopefully we won't be talking about squad inequity, but I mean, it happens all the time, and I don't know what the answer is, because it's not always that, like, it's not as simple as, like, if you're on A squad, like, unless we're in Lubbock. I mean, in Lubbock, if you're on A squad, you're a huge advantage to B squad. But in most of the other places, it's not necessarily like, hey, A squad's easy, B squad's hard, or vice versa. Like, you just don't know. So it's not even like, you could balance it out somewhat by every other week. And I mean, what we're talking about, we're probably talking about 2 events, maybe 3 events that are going to have 2 squads. So, I mean, none of the majors have double squad. None of the PBA majors have multiple squads.
Fair point.
And then the other tournaments that do have multiple squads, the Masters, I mean, it was an issue in Vegas, but I don't think it was so much of an issue in Reno this last time. I mean, someone will probably correct me because they were probably slighted on C squad or whatever. But like, yeah, I'm hoping that I can bowl well enough that I don't have to worry about those issues. Because generally, when you're worrying about squad inequity, it's because you're close to the cut.
Yeah, but I mean,
you're not close to the
it's a
cut.
problem. I'm not surprised to hear that's something that would be almost universally, accepted by the players, or wanted by the players. How about the asymmetrical lane patterns? General thoughts on that? What's up?
Yeah, about time.
Okay.
I mean, how can you not have an asymmetrical lane pattern when one part of the lane is being used like 100 times more than the other part of the lane, like, for its life? Then on top of that, you have like 9 people in the field on the left side, and Simonson if he chooses to, and on the right side you have 100 people. Like, on what world would you think that you would want that to be the same? That doesn't make any sense. Because if it's really difficult, really flat, then the right-handers have a huge advantage over the left-handers on a symmetrical lane pattern, and vice versa. If it's really high scoring at the start, I mean, the righties almost have no chance of keeping up with the left-handers. So, I mean, I don't really understand how you could ever not have asymmetrical lane patterns.
Okay, fair enough. In terms of the schedule this year and where you guys are going to be traveling, any places that are highlights for you guys, or that are places that generally the guys on tour are looking forward to going to?
It's funny. I really like going to Indy, but I hate bowling there. Like, the proprietor's awesome. Like, the city's super easy. Like, the fans come out. It's cool. I just suck there. Like, but it's cool to go to Indy. You know what I mean? It's like really difficult, because like, it's like, shit, there's another $1,000 week coming. But at the same time, it's like, it's cool that there's a lot of people out and cheering people on. So Indy's like a love-hate relationship for me. I really want to bowl well there. I think I bowled there well once, but like, because the atmosphere is great, it just doesn't necessarily happen for me.
Okay.
I like going to Akron. I like going to Ohio. I'm sad that we're not going to Wayne's place, because it felt like cheating there for everybody who was on Storm. We pretty much won, like, or had, a lot of the guys in the top 24 every year. So I felt like I had a pretty big advantage there. So I'm sad we're not going back there.
Seems like a good environment anytime the PBA came through there as well.
Yeah, and like I enjoy going to Lubbock. Jimbo and Sunday are awesome. They try their best to do everything for the players. I mean, this year the prize fund was amazing. But just in general, it's cool to be out there. Everybody in West Texas is super friendly. It's also a really fun place because my wife went to school out in that area at West Texas A&M. So every time I go there, I get what Tina gets in a lot of the places. So people come up to me and go, "Is Tina here?" And I go, "No." And they don't even continue the conversation. They just walk off. They're not like, "Hey, Stu, how's it going?" They're like, "Is Tina here?" "No." And they just leave. And Tina's like, "Well, now."
Speaks highly of her, though.
Yeah. But now she goes, "Now you know how I felt." Because she said she was famous for that happening in Phoenix when we lived there. Like people come up, "Is Stu here?" "No, he's out on tour." "Oh." And then just walk off.
Stu, that's kind of what my brothers deal with when they bowl in tournaments throughout the country. they always go over to them and be like, "Hey, is Rob here?" And they're like, "Nah," like, all right, and they just walk over.
No. What happens is then they go over to the bracket table. They go, "I'm out. Rob's not here."
Yeah.
No, they go, "Wait, Rob's not here." They go, "I'm all in." All in.
Okay.
Yeah. All in brackets.
From your perspective, Stu, or again from the general perspective of the players that you're talking to or that you're familiar with, give the fans 2 or 3 things to watch for.
I mean, watch out for Belmont coming back. I think that could be entertaining.
See?
I think
buy the stock. See, I mean, Mike was selling stock.
I'm all for just letting him have Player of the Year every year, because the years he doesn't win Player of the Year, he just comes back and like is like the Terminator. So to me, it's just not that important. Just let him be Player of the Year, whatever. If he wants it, just give him the award, whatever. I mean, John Mark Manzone might give him the award anyway, even if he doesn't turn up. So we're never going to stop beating up on Manzone for that All-American thing. But and I mean, I'm not even that close with Doherty. I almost don't even really care whether Doherty's on the team or not. I just think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it was pretty egregious. I agree.
So that's something to watch out for. I mean, the players championship, I think, is quite a unique format. Well, it is a unique format. So that's always cool to see. Hopefully I'm the random who makes it through and starts, averaging 250 on TV. Random is such a bad, it's like a derogatory term, but it's just like somebody you just didn't expect. I don't really mean it in like they're a bad bowler. It's just like, who's this guy? Then the next
I don't mean it that way either. If I use it, I would mean it as unknown.
Yeah, but it's not even necessarily unknown. It's just like last year, like Dick Allen, great bowler, won multiple titles over the last 4 or 5 years. But like he came on TV like a man possessed in that like South region. Like they had just the scores through the roof. So it was just like you didn't necessarily expect that, like he was going through Jesper and Doherty and Ascona, was it? I mean, it was just like the scores were so high. It was, yeah. So I think that's kind of a cool, interesting format. Hopefully Frankie doesn't run over our region again like last time. He came to me and he said, "I started this game 4-4. I because we were late getting back from lunch, and like I'm going the wrong way up the road to get us back because there was an accident." And Frankie goes, "Yeah, I started this game 4-4," and I'm like, "Oh shit, how did it go?" He goes, 257. Okay, Frank, like I thought something bad happened. He goes, "Well, I gave up 30 the first frame." It's Frankie's attitude. He just thinks he's going to strike every shot. So yeah, I like that. I think that going to these in the week tournaments, like the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday events, could be interesting. I'm fascinated to see what the response is from the public and whether we can get people out at the start of the week to watch. So yeah, there's some, and of course you can't get past the fact that a bunch of guys have changed brands, so that's always fun to see guys with different logos on their shirts.
Yeah, we just talked last night about how we don't feel like there's a lot of meaning there anymore with the switching of the brands. Maybe for like very top players, But after that, it doesn't really seem to have all that much effect on things, given the last few years and some of the switches that we've seen.
Which one of the guys were you most shocked about?
I was shocked more about Shannon O'Keefe. That was my biggest to me that was the biggest shock.
The women's tour was they had way more big movements than the guys did, but I mean, I was kind of shocked that
Andrew Anderson,
Nick Pate was the one who shocked me a little bit.
Yeah, Andrew Anderson was probably, if you were to pick one guy that kind of surprised me a little bit, was Andrew Anderson going to Motive.
Yeah, especially after he made the move to Radical the year before.
Yeah, I don't know.
He was kind of set up.
Honestly, I don't know if I would describe any of them as shocking to me. I don't, I'm a little bit surprised by Andrew Anderson's move, I guess, but to Motive, because I just don't think
the most shocking thing to me was when Lavery Spa moved, and I looked, and the swag bowling had 35 different balls.
Really?
They have 35 balls?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was the most shocking thing to me, because I didn't know that.
You know what? I'll say that was the shocking thing to me too, because I didn't know what swag bowling was really. I'd never really heard of it until the announcements and stuff, and I was like, I even tweeted out like, "Yo, WTF is swag bowling?" All right, we're gonna get you out of here. I think you answered the last question I was going to ask you, and was going to be, from your perspective, from the player's perspective, who's the favorite? But I think you're going to say Belmo, no?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think Belmo always starts off as the favorite, but I mean, I feel like there's going to be one year where Simonson just beats the shit out of everybody. Because it feels like every year he's going to win every tournament. Like he has a role, he has a run like this year, the Players. But then whether it's things that distract him that don't need to distract him, or he gets some bad breaks on TV, or a guy just bowls out of his mind, he just didn't necessarily. I guess he didn't necessarily get the results that I would have expected. You know what I mean?
And I agree. If things go his way, or if he's able to put it together a little bit more, you're right. He probably could have been in that spot himself.
I mean, because the Players Championship, he got kind of frustrated on that TV show.
Yeah.
And then the thing that really sucked about it was he bowled fantastic at the Tournament of the Champions. I mean, he was like the class of the field. And then he got back on the same pair that he'd got frustrated by. So that was one of those situations where, if he'd have been the one who won the Players Championship, he probably would have won the TOC too. You know what I mean? Because you'd have had that good feeling on that TV show. Whereas you had that frustration of the previous, it was a week earlier. And you also bowled a 3-game match on Extra Frame for $100,000 or whatever it was that they were bowling for between 2nd and 5th. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, I could see Anthony just winning 3 majors and winning five or 6 tournaments. 1 year, I feel like he's going to do that.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a great point.
I mean, yeah.
I have an NFL question for Stu before we get him out of here.
Oh, sweet.
So, are you a Patriots fan or are you a Buccaneers fan now?
I'm a Patriots fan.
You're a Patriots fan, so
I appreciate the Buccaneers, but I had no problem in cheering for them to flatten Brady when the Patriots played the Bucs.
Okay. So look. I'm just curious if you're one of those bandwagon fans that just go with your player.
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me whether I thought that the Jets were going to have a winning season in the next decade, and I was going to say no.
Well, look, we doubled our wins from the previous year, so we're actually getting better.
Let's go, baby.
He looked great the last 2 games.
Do you think he's ever going to play 16 games, the little midget?
He's his first year. We'll talk in a few years to see who's a better quarterback, him or Mac Jones, okay? Your Mac Jones is probably the most overrated rookie, dunking and diving his way to whatever it was, 9 or 10 wins.
Said that about Brady?
No, Brady was different. Brady was different.
He dunked his way to 7 Super Bowls.
You guys have yourself a good quarterback manager. We got ourselves a actual quarterback. You guys have a
That's
manager.
fine. We've got an actual team.
Enough.
I'm not going to argue that point. Not arguing that point.
Oh, listen to the Eagles fan. You should be happy. You guys made the playoffs.
I am. Yeah, I am. I'm looking forward to
you're going to get
football.
Absolutely face effed in the first round of the playoffs. I mean, they're going to
completely
bounce to the woodshed.
All right, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We'll
ride with dreams and nightmares, and we'll see what happens.
You keep booing Santa.
What's the plan for the pod when you guys are out on tour? Tell the people so they can catch it. Like how are you guys going to adapt things once you're out there?
I think it should be good. Me and Chris are both hoity-toity diamond members with Hilton, so maybe we can get a decent internet connection. Maybe not, but we'll try. We'll try and keep up with stuff. We've got Tuesday's show is going to be quite entertaining because we're bowling the snowman doubles this weekend, the hand-oiled tournament. I think that Chris Skillings, the owner-proprietor down in Fire Lake, was a bit pissed off that we could make the bull hook last year, so I think he's going to come back with a vengeance. I think he might literally have an oil tanker outside just pouring the oil on the lane because he said he didn't want to see the bull hook. And he's going to get his spray gun out. So
it's good stuff.
Don't imagine that's going to be I don't imagine we're going to be bowling 500.
Dude, we used to practice. That was our practice in college with the hand. Dude,
I don't think it was quite like this. Like they have put so much oil on the lane. On the Sunday last year, that he went through 2 bottles of oil, doing like 12 lanes, and then when we went to bowl, you couldn't pick your plastic ball off the rack with one hand because it just slipped out of your hand. There was so much oil everywhere. It was awful.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, it was fun though. But yeah, I don't think you're going to be creating ball shape this year, no matter how slow you throw it. I think he's coming back with a vengeance.
So Barnes is gonna. I would love to be bowling with Barnes. He'll just throw the high hard one. I think he can throw the high one. I just don't think he can throw it hard. It'll go through the back. No.
Throws it hard.
Just 10 back, fullbacks.
There's some pretty good teams. Chris Vye's bowling with Kevin Williams. Packy's bowling with Simo. I'm bowling with Frankie. AJ Chapman's bowling with a really good local bowler, Paul Henderson. Rash is bowling with Lavery Spa. So yeah, should be entertaining. So yeah, and looking forward to it. Not sure it's the best preparation for the Players Championship, but we'll see.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Obviously, after that, you got the Players Championship coming up. Coming right after that, and then I assume you're taking a short break and then headed out for the whole season.
Yes, I'm looking at kind of the schedule and there's a couple of tournaments, non-PBA tournaments in between because we've got those 2 or 3 tournaments that are like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then nothing on the weekend. So I think I'll probably miss one of the weekend tournaments and just fly home because I'm not going to be out on the road for 10 weeks straight. Okay.
Well, listen, man, we appreciate time as always. We appreciate the insight and the thoughts. Safe travels. Bowl well. I mean, come on. I picked you last year for comeback player of the year. I'll stick with that pick again this year.
Thanks,
we'll ride with it again.
So all right. Sweet. Is that because is that because you want to tell Bill fat guys can bowl?
That maybe. No, really, it gives me something to watch for. So like when I see your name and I'm like, oh, let me click on this pair. I'm like, yeah, let me watch Stu and cheer him on. And honestly, that's probably why you didn't bowl well because I probably black clouded you.
How important do you think you are?
Watching you with an interest. My black cloud skills are quite great.
When you're watching, it's already happened.
Fair point. Especially with recent experience.
Let's not forget though, Bill in high school used to be a fat kid bowler too. So
yeah, but he wasn't on our level where we're at now. We're adult fat guys here. Okay, he was like a fat kid. Like we're adult fat guys. So show the respect.
I mean, like I say, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, we'll see.
All right.
I'm not going to talk smack at Bill. Obviously not.
Definitely not.
Not a week before the tour. Not a couple weeks before the tour starts.
No, but good luck. Seriously, I genuinely mean that. I do we have talked outside of the podcast and stuff, and I genuinely do wish you luck and hope to see you have a good season and make some shows and have some success out there.
Just quickly before we go, me and Bill were actually discussing how awesome it would be if they could get the Weber Cup in like Jersey one year.
Oh my God, please.
And like
please.
Me and you would be just like going at it. Me on the lane, you sitting in your seat down there.
Oh my God.
You'd probably want to beat me up because you get all upset when people go after you.
It probably wouldn't come to that. I can separate it. I can separate it with the bowling competition.
But anyway, just quickly, Rob. I mean, I've got to say thank you. You believed in us. The miracle at Morningside, Weber Cup. We brought it back. Got that trophy. There was no respect shown here. I called Jesper. I was calling Jesper like every week leading up to it. I told him, I go, I don't suck anymore. We're going to win, right? I called him up. We're going to win. And Jesper was like, all right. So then like a couple of weeks later, I call him up. Jesper goes, hey, mate, what's up? And I go, we're going to win. And then I just hung up. And then we were in the last session. And I go, it doesn't look like we're going to win.
Dude,
but
Mike was so, I mean, when I even brought the fact up that you guys were going to win or I had a chance to win, he shot me down so hard. It was just like, no, they have no chance. I'm like, are you kidding me?
It wouldn't have been so insulting if Bill was bowling, because I understand he's the ultimate fanboy and everything else. These are people, he was literally dismissing us for people he doesn't even like. He doesn't even know. He's saying, get out of here. Like, they have no chance.
I said, are you kidding me? They're good.
He didn't show any respect for Richie Teese's 10th frame stones. Every time he needed a strike, he got up.
Fair point.
The rack went like this. They all fell over.
He did his
dude.
Did his
I love
did his
thing. Yeah,
I love the fact.
Listen, I know when it comes to my bowling predictions, I know, guys, I'm not wrong often. So when I'm wrong, I know I'm big wrong.
You went 2 for 2 with me. You had me as comeback player of the year. I was in like 40th. And then you told us we had no chance at the Weber Cup, and we ended up winning in a roll-off.
Like I said, when I'm wrong, I like to do it big, even when I'm wrong.
I love the fact that Stu literally has been saving that this whole time.
I thought I was getting away.
To tell you that they won and that you were such a hater on them. And I like the fact that he came on and on.
Good bowling. I watched. It was a great performance. You deserve to win. Somebody missed a 10-pin. Okay.
See, this is bullshit, right?
Oh,
Barnzy is getting all this hate, right? And but Barnzy, that would have only continued the roll-off.
No, who knows what happened?
It wasn't like he needed 9 spare to win. He was still going to lose the roll-off.
That's bullshit. That's bullshit, because that's like saying, well, if the field goal kicker makes the field goal, it's only going to go in overtime. Well, that's the point, to get it to overtime.
No, we were already in overtime. He was wasting time. He wasn't winning.
Well, you don't know that for sure.
No, I know I don't. But I tell you what I do know for sure. If Simons had taken the count in the 9th frame of the match against Jesper, he would have needed a strike to win the Weber Cup rather than not. But nobody's mentioning that. Everybody just wants to blame Barnes for missing the single pin, which wouldn't have even resulted in a win. It would have just resulted in a continuation.
Well, Mike, take the L, Mike. Take the L. Let's move on.
Yeah, all right, I'll just say
I'll
just say context. Context is important to me.
I mean,
as a fan.
It's still great. Like, all the boys here in Texas thought it was hilarious that Barnes missed the 10 pin, and I went round and high-fived the entire building. They were like, we couldn't stop watching it. Barnes stormed off the lane. You stormed past him and started high-10 in the crowd. I go,
bring it to Jersey. Bring it to Jersey. I promise I'll do my best to pack them in. Who's repping you out there, Stu? Obviously, the podcast, Storm, but give us the list.
Oh, God. Coolwick, Rotogrip, Coolwick, Turbo. Then we've got Lightning Strikes down in Fort Myers. They're a cool bowling center, Mr. Robert Eddy. Fire Lake Bowling Center up in Shawnee. True Grit Coatings, a Tampa-based flooring company. They do epoxy flooring. And then we have Platinum Ford up in the Dallas area. I just got a new F-150 from them. That's the sponsorship deal isn't that good. I still paid for it, but yeah. So we're really appreciated to them, and of course Bowler's Mart. So yeah, we've got a few people on the docket.
Man, look at these guys. Look at these guys, man. Big moves. No, it's great, man. Congratulations. I'm glad to see you guys doing your thing and
we're
growing
like
the
Mini
podcast.
Rash.
What?
Like Mini Rash. He starts. He has a sponsorship deal every year. It seems to be 1 year deals mainly, but he does seem to have. He works hard. He gets a lot of sponsors in. It's impressive.
I was gonna say, not a bad thing if you're taking a page out of his book in that regard. How's the pickup truck? Is that your bowling truck?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. And what do you have the cover for the back for bad weather for the bowling balls?
Yeah,
okay.
Brian Badliner.
How you like it?
I love it. It's an F-150. It's awesome.
Okay.
I'm a truck guy. Once I moved
I
to
was going to ask,
Texas,
is this your first pickup truck or no?
No, I traded in my previous one.
Okay. All right. No doubt. Didn't picture you as a pickup truck guy. Pictured you as more of like a large SUV guy.
I
large,
was, and then I
comfy
moved to
SUV.
Texas. And I told Tina, once we move to Texas, I need a truck.
I was going to say he's more of a Prius. Yeah, I think he'd be more of a Prius type guy.
Now, living in Austin, you'd have to be a Tesla guy.
They're too tight. Are you serious? Fat guys can't drive Priuses. What, are you serious?
I don't know. I'm just
My goodness. Hey, you know what? Soon enough, I ain't going to be able to include him in the Fat Guys Club, bro. He's been dropping the pounds. I see that on the videos. I take notice.
No, I've been finding those fuckers. Like, I lost them, and they were like, "We're home, Daddy. We're home."
Holidays. Hey.
Oh no, I can't blame the holiday. This is just a poor life decisions.
We could do a podcast about that sometime if you want.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. But Stu, listen, it's always fun, bro. And again, good luck, safe travels. Hope the family's good and well. Tell the wife I know she's a fan. Shout to the wife. Tell her what's up. Tell her so it's good. And we'll be watching, man. We'll be following you on the tour and following you on the podcast as well.
Appreciate it. I definitely appreciate you guys. You're the only two who survived the COVID. We're the last two left. The COVID podcast group.
We were pre-COVID. We'll be post-COVID.
I'm just saying, like,
we're like cockroaches around here at Sweep the Rack. You ain't getting rid of us.
There was a lot of pretenders to the throne, wasn't there?
People trying to come at us.
I don't know if I would say that. I mean, honestly, I say this all the time. I'm not in this for that. I'm in this because I'm a fan. And yeah, I enjoy what we do here. I do. It's cool for me.
You're just like me and Barnes. You love the sound of your own voice.
No, not at all. It's cool for me to be able to bring on guys like you, talk to guys like you.
He loves his voice.
Questions.
It's total bullshit. It's not about the talking. I know I talk a lot, but it's more because that's what I do for a living every day rather than wanting to hear myself. So all good.
Imagine?
Listen. Come at me all you want. It's fine. It's fine. Do you think these guys would come at me like this in person? Do you think they come at me like this? When we all link up at some point, people are going to have some issues. But go ahead.
Rob, can you imagine being a kid in Mike's class? He'd ask you a question that was so long you wouldn't even remember what the start of the question was.
True. This is fair point. But what I'm doing, see, that's a strategy, Stu. It's called thinking time, and you're giving the students thinking time. So you ask the question a couple different times. I do that same thing for the guests. I want to give them time to.
It's all right, Mike. It's all love. I appreciate you. I wouldn't give you such a hard time if I didn't like you.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'll see you in person soon enough, and we'll discuss. Rob, same thing to you. Okay, Stu. Thanks for the time, bro. We appreciate it.
You don't want this heat, Mike. See you, Stu.
Take it easy.
Later. Yeah. So, I think to me, one of the more interesting things to hear out of the interview there is almost the complete acceptance of the asymmetrical patterns by the players. I was surprised. I was a little bit surprised.
Oh, I think I lost Mike. Hey, now I got actually some time to
Yeah.
talk. Oh,
Did you
wait,
lose
are
me
you
for a
there?
second?
I
Sorry.
lost you, but go finish the
No, you
point.
know
I
what
was
it is?
actually going to talk for a sec.
The
Which is,
storm is starting here, so my
oh,
internet is kind of
okay.
fritzy. But go ahead, Rob.
No, you talk about the asymmetrical patterns, right? And how they were accepting the pros to a really, it seems like a pretty extreme level. Like they're like welcoming it to a certain point, but still makes a valid point, right? Like how could you argue that point, right? You got, what is it? One lefty for every maybe 7 or 8 righties. I mean, that's what on average, what the ratio is usually from lefty to righty. And you're bowling on a tour with 100 players or 150 players, that was going to put, the math maybe what, like 15 lefties, 20 lefties out of 100 and whatever it is. If you did the numbers, I didn't, I'm not good numbers in my head, but how could you make how could you make a pattern the same on both when you only have, one lefty maybe on every pair or every other pair, and you have 10 righties, and 8 of the righties now are two-handers. They're using urethane balls. The rev rates are higher these days. So, like, the right
Yeah, the
side is going to
factors are there.
change.
The
Yeah.
factors are
Oh,
there. His explanation of it was very good, and
it was
it was
because it
very on
makes
the
sense.
money. Totally makes
100%.
sense. Totally
I'll be
makes sense.
interested now, though. I'm
I
going
will
to be
too.
interested to
Here,
see.
but can I make a point though? And I'm not saying this is the way I feel. I'm just asking this question because I feel like generally this is how bowling goes. It's like the competitors in bowling are reactionary to a certain degree. So what if they do these asymmetrical patterns and halfway through the season, let's say, hey, you have some serious domination by a guy like Buttriff or Jesper Svensson. Do you see Rob think that we'll then see the other side of the argument come in and say, "Oh, see, we should, this is the way it should be." Do you think that would be an
No,
issue?
no, because I mean, why should anybody have an issue with someone like Svensson dominating when Belmo has been dominating for so long? So what? Now there will be an issue if you look at the point standings and 7 of the top 10 are lefty, or even 5 of the top 10 are lefty. So the ratio says, right, 1 at 1, and this is just a standard ratio where you have 1 lefty for every 7 righties. So in reality, maybe in my opinion, if you have a point standings top 10 in a true form, there probably should be maybe 2 to 3 lefties in the top 10, right? But if you see 6 or 7 lefties in the top 10, you're going to see a bunch of bitching and complaining from the righties, no doubt about it. But if you have maybe 1 or 2 lefties that are in the top 10, I feel like that's what should be, right? I'm not going to. Why should anybody complain if Jesper Svensson is dominating the tour? The kid is just as good as
No,
anybody out there.
and no, and I'm not saying they should. I'm really asking, like, will we hear that type of reaction at all? I don't know. I think that
If
it's
there's a
possible.
lot, I'm saying if like 5, if the top 10 point standings and 5 or 6 of them are lefty, then the people going to be like,
It's
yeah,
going to swing
like
the other way.
100%. Like
Okay.
it
All right.
should
Fair
be,
enough.
they should have it so it's a fair, like there should be maybe 2 lefties in the top 10. Maybe every show you really should see a lefty on the show. Like there
Okay.
should be 1 lefty on the show. Like I don't know,
Yeah, it's tough.
maybe
It's tough to categorize it like that.
it
It's
is.
tough to
It's
break it
tough.
down in that
But
fashion.
I'm saying
So,
maybe a lefty in a top 10. There should be a lefty in a top 10. Or not even, I'm not saying the show, but saying
well,
a top 10. Like,
let's go as even more
my
general and
opinion,
say
I don't know. I could be wrong here,
it
but
should probably be a little more even than it's been the last in recent last couple of years.
see, what normally would happen, at least from what I see like on the tour, is that the lefties would dominate in just the certain bowling alleys and the certain places, right? And like you knew going into this bowling center that the lefties were going to win there, or the lefties had it in that bowling center. Other places they knew maybe the lefties didn't have it there, and you would never see a lefty. So like it just became to the fact where like the lefties kind of knew the centers they had it in and the centers they didn't have it in, regardless of what pattern was put out. Right.
Right.
I'm hoping
True.
that changes with this new like pattern system with the asymmetricals, where the bowling centers where the lefties maybe were shut out, the last whatever years. Maybe this actually like will help them in that certain place. And same vice versa with the righties on certain places where the lefties would dominate.
Okay, fair enough. All right, Rob, we knock another one out, man. Another interview on our interview series here. We're going to keep them coming for the people, trying to put the content out there. As we talk to Stu, check out the Beef and Barnzy podcast. It's a really good podcast. A little bit different than what we do here, but definitely great bowling content. Some of the best bowling content out there. So check out their podcast as well. Rob, always fun. We'll catch up with the people soon. Click that subscribe button. Click the subscribe button if you want to be aware anytime we put something
out. Make up
out.
Gmail accounts. Like if you guys are like bored, just make up Gmail accounts and subscribe. Like
I love it.
Like literally, like what else you guys got to do with your time? If you're watching our show, you guys have
I don't
time
care
to do
that much, but whatever. Still hit the subscribe button if you want to see whenever we release some content, because we have been putting some good stuff out, and we've been increasing the volume of content that we're putting out. Sure. Rob, have a good one. All right, feel better, buddy, and we will see the people soon.
Sure.
You are now listening to Sweep the Rack podcast featuring Brooklyn Rob and Big Mike.